no different. So the bucket story is simple. Before you do anything else in your life, you go out and you create a cash reserve, which you do this over time, 50% of what you make. Then you go out and you create, you buy your home. Then you do your retirement plan. You do your life insurance, you do your disability insurance, and you do your education funding. You earn the right, after you do that, to get into your risk bucket, which are your stocks and bonds, your mutual funds, your real estate, your commodities, or whatever. The problem is what happens is we all start here. And then if you lose the money, and you come back over here and you don't have bucket one filled up, and we've all been to that routine, it's pretty darn embarrassing, isn't it? When you have families, relationships, people depending on you, workers, employees, anything. It's just a tough one on your ego. I started here. I bought a stock when I was 17 years old. When I told you, I looked around and looked at my dad and said, I better figure out what money is. I ain't going to have any. I went and I started. I bought a book on logarithmic graphing. My uncle, who happens to live in Colorado Springs now, turned me on to this thing. He was the only one in the whole neighborhood who wore a suit and tie to work, and I figured after what everybody else was wearing, that's a step up. So I asked him what he was doing in the early 70s, and he was in the semiconductor business when they were first doing these little chips. So he's retired now. He scoured the United States, and he told me, he said, I'm going to pick the best place that I can to retire. He could live anywhere. It provided him with a handsome, rewarding income, and he's just, chosen his place, and they just built a home there. Semiconductors in the 70s. So I bought a book on logarithmic graphing, studied 5 semiconductor stocks, National Semiconductor, Moztec Corporation, Fairchild Camera, Motorola, and one other, which I forget. And I just bought the book, and it was pretty simple. Follow these things. I'm 17 years old. Follow this thing. It goes up and it goes down, these stocks. They're pretty cyclical. You draw a line up here where they average, a line down here where they average at the bottom, and you always try to buy them when they're at the bottom, ready to bounce up. Saved $1,000, went into a brokerage firm. They thought I was the paper boy. Bought a stock, National Semiconductor, rolled out all in $5 and $10 and $20 bills. Said, look, I ain't got a lot of time. No, I'm not the paper boy. And I need to buy this stock because I got to go to work. I bought National Semiconductor, making those little chips that were in those cheap little Pulsar watches a zillion years ago. And then now into computers and everything else, stock went from 12 to 6 immediately, of which they all thought I didn't know what I was talking about. And they said, hey, kid, that's a bum, sell the stock. But I had conviction based on knowledge. So I share that with you, story with you, because it's real simple. Because what happens is, when you don't have conviction, when that stock went from 12 to 6, I had the charts, I had the graphs, I studied the companies. I figured I could get to know 5 things as good or well as anybody else out there. So when it went down to 6 and they tried to talk me out of it, I had the conviction to say, no, you're crazy. I see the future. What happens in life is you go up to somebody, or Dan to you, you're an expert, let's say, in real estate. If I try to rain on your parade in real estate, you ain't going to let me. But if I get you in an area you're not as proficient in, and I know this much more than you, I can probably make you feel pretty confused or even embarrassed. You'll probably change your mind. And then you lose, and then who you're mad at? Not me. Mad at yourself. That's what happens. Newspapers, magazines, and everywhere else. Their job is to inform you, and they inform you better than ever before. But it's up to you to make the decisions, have the conviction. That stock eventually went from 6 to 60, from 60 to 128. I sold the stock. I bought another stock, Moztec Corporation, same thing, waited 3 months, bought it at 12, sold it at 18, walked in the brokerage firm, 17 years old, jeans and T-shirts. And the next day I walked in after I sold that one, called up, sold it, and the word from all the brokers yelling across the room was, hey kid, what do you like? So again, here I am. I'm thinking these guys are the geniuses. And here I am, just building conviction. The problem is, when you have no expenses, you're living out of your parents' home, you can do that and take all the risks. But unless now, you need to come back, earn the right to get into the risk bucket, save your life, make it easy. The bucket number 1, you build a chapel around. You have a family now, you have relationships, you have businesses, you have responsibilities. You build a chapel around this so no one can ever take this away from you. No one can ever take you down. And in 10 minutes, I'll show you how to do all of those things in bucket number 1 that you're paying for now, bank accounts, credit cards, mortgages, life insurance. I'll show you how to do everything in your life, because my goal was, I'm going to get them all to pay me back. Because whenever anybody tried to sell me something before, you ever try to buy like an auto insurance policy or a disability or a life insurance policy, who understands them? Those are contracts written by attorneys for other attorneys so that they can legally dispute them in court. What the heck do you and I, what aptitude do we have to read that thing and sign it? Who do you think makes more money? Interesting. The attorneys, right. The person selling it to you makes more, but then the attorney really gets you in the end. So it's real simple. Then what you do is then you earn the right to get in bucket number 2. Bucket number 3 is your dream bucket, and that's where your exotic cars and boats and your third homes and all of that stuff. And as I tell many, many clients, all these boats in California and Florida, I go by these places and the boats are all over there. You ever see them? The boats never move. They just have those green covers on them. So my advice in the dream bucket is real simple: is, hey guys, just buy the blue covers. Forget the boat. When you want a boat, when you want that boat so bad, because I know you can only use it 4 times a year, I mean, just go rent the biggest, baddest boat you can find and spend whatever you want. It'll be in the budget, believe me, and you'll save money. We made a tremendous amount of money over the last 5 years. We took 1/3 of the money, we put it back in bucket number 2, 1/3 of the money, put it back in bucket number 1 in security, and we tell our people, go out, hey, if you want to spend it, 1/3, you deserve it. Most people don't. They'll take a small portion, but that's it. Now you have a metaphor. The metaphor works. Now, in your mind, when you leave tonight, you remember a percentage of what I say very, very minutely. 20% of what I say, you'll forget 80%.